Welcome to the Life After Cancer podcast, made possible by the National Lottery Community Fund. I'm Steph, founder of Life After Cancer. I've been through cancer myself, and I know that when treatment ends, life doesn't always return to normal. So here we talk about the emotional, practical, and often invisible parts of life after treatment through lived experience and professional insight. These conversations share real experiences and perspectives. They're not medical advice and can't replace support from your healthcare team. If you're navigating life after cancer, supporting someone you care about, or working in cancer care, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Today's episode focuses on something so many people struggle with after cancer: fatigue. Not just feeling tired, but the kind of exhaustion where even lifting a kettle can feel like too much. I'm joined today by Jonathan, a writer from East London who is 18 months post-treatment for head and neck cancer. In this conversation, he shares what life has really been like since finishing cancer treatment. He talks honestly about how shocking the fatigue was and the small things that helped him manage it. We'll also explore something less often discussed, losing his sense of taste, and how that didn't just affect food, but social life, enjoyment, and his sense of identity. And we talk about what helped: meeting someone who had been through something similar, writing things down, humour, and finding small ways to regain steadiness. Here's my conversation with Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you.
So I'd love you just to think back to the time when you just finished cancer treatment. And what would you say surprised you the most?
It surprised me how long it took to recover from the treatment. Obviously everybody tells you that it'll take a few weeks, you won't feel, yourself for a while. But yeah, I wasn't quite prepared for how long that was going to be.
Was there anything you wish someone had told you about this stage?
I think it's very hard for a lot of medical professionals to be specific about how long side effects can last for, and obviously it's different from person to person, treatment to treatment. Everybody responds to these things slightly differently. But I think if I'd been a bit more prepared for the scale of the side effects, the fatigue, and the in my case, my treatment took away my sense of taste and my saliva glands and things like that, and I didn't know whether I'd get those back at all. But very slowly those things started to come back, and my fatigue started to ease, and so you do recover. But I just hadn't got any idea how slow it would be. It's not suddenly bing, you're better. But and I think a lot of people I know also they weren't aware that that those side effects went on for so long. So I think a lot of people just assume that once you're out of treatment that you're better, everything's finished. But actually the truth is you're in a sort of this, kind of like a bit more of a limbo state. You're not able to do, all of the things you used to do. You can't commit to everything, and, you have to turn a lot of people down, which, it can disappoint people and make people feel, is he ill? Is there something going on?
Mm-hmm. One of those areas that we speak of that you've not spoken about yet is identity. This big question of who am I after cancer treatment? How did your cancer change your sense of who you are now?
I think when you've had, you've been faced with your own mortality, and you've been through quite a horrific experience that's, been very painful and nothing like you've ever, experienced before. I think it changes you so fundamentally on so many different levels. It becomes part of your life, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always say that if I wake up in the morning and get to 11 o'clock and I haven't thought about cancer once, then that's a pretty good start to a day from my point of view. I think I certainly felt like I lost my identity, my sense of identity, for quite a big period during my treatment, and afterwards. I felt like I kind of turtled, I sort of went into my shell, almost like a sort of defense mechanism. And I think you sort of, hide there to protect yourself from all these horrible things that are happening to you.
Yeah, it's safe there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it takes you quite a long time to then come out of your shell at the end of it. And, as well as all the physical side effects that go along with having this horrible treatment, but life-saving, horrible, but, I'm very grateful for it.
This is a common theme. It's like, there's dance between grateful and actually there's just this whole list of challenges and problems. Right. It's like, oh, no, but I am grateful, I promise you.
Thank you for giving it to me. So, I think once you start to come out of there very cautiously, you start to sort of see the world a little bit, in a different light, and you start to get your own identity back again,
Well, how did you come out of your shell?
I think, very slowly, because, like I say, those side effects take so long to recover from, and because you're so mentally scarred. But I think, just taking things very easy, going right back to basics, trying to work out what it was that I enjoyed before, and I mean, part of the problem is that food plays a big role in my life, cooking it and having a big meal with family and friends, it's always been a pretty big deal, and that's how I've always, relaxed and enjoyed, myself. I mean, I read books and watch films and things like that as well, but having your sense of taste totally stripped out, so that every time you put something in your mouth, it feels disgusting.
Yeah.
And not having enough saliva to chew it and swallow it properly, that just took a whole chunk of my identity away from me. That takes a long time to come back. I don't think, I'm still not 100% there. I still have less saliva and, probably about 83%, 84% taste back, I would say. I know that sounds specific, but I've been kind of mentally monitoring it. And that's enough for me to enjoy food, like I used to. But it took me a really long time to get there. I think I'm so grateful that I can enjoy food again. I just can't believe it, really, sometimes. So that's good. That's a big thing. Having obviously a big support network. My family have been amazing. My wife, my kids. One key thing that I've had, that I know not all people who've experienced cancer have, is a very close friend who went through almost exactly the same treatment as me at almost exactly the same time. So she was a mutual friend, a friend of a friend, and we were put in touch because of our treatment, and we were able to get together and share horror stories and be very honest with each other, and moan and whinge and sit there and sip tiny amounts of water at each other and things like that. And we've continued to be friends afterwards, and we've sort of charted our experience together, and having that person who understands what you're going through. And it's something like going to, if you don't have that person, and not everybody does obviously, but if you have access to a community or people who you can talk to who have been through that experience, that gives you your sense of identity.
Yeah, it's invaluable, isn't it? We see in the community, or any of the work that we deliver, regardless of what it is that brings someone there, hearing or seeing someone else go, I completely get how you're feeling. You don't have to over-explain to me.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can share those horror stories without worrying, oh goodness, is this too much for them? Because I think when we share with friends and family, we protect them because we
do.
think, oh, they've already been through this whole process of, cancer with me. And this is a different conversation in itself of
Exactly,
relationships. It's going, I don't want to burden you. Not that you are burdening, but it's that kind of tab in your brain that's thinking, I can only share so much with you. So having that buddy or that community just offers so much value, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's been absolutely invaluable for me.
And I know that figuring out your identity
Mm-hmm.
and the headspace that all of these symptoms post-treatment take up for you is exhausting. And then on top of this, you've got fatigue, and you touched on fatigue. Tell me what that fatigue was like for you after treatment.
Well, it's incredibly debilitating on a level that, I had no concept of. And, as I've said before, the recovery from it is a lot slower than, I'd assumed. All my doctors and everybody told me, you will feel tired and the effects of the radiotherapy and the chemotherapy will continue after you finish treatment, for several weeks. So I was prepared to feel tired, but I was in no way prepared to feel the sheer exhaustion and fatigue that that I eventually ended up encountering. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it is like hitting a brick wall, and you can go no further. It's not like any kind of tiredness I've ever experienced before. It's like your battery's totally empty and you don't know what to do. It's really tough, and that can affect your identity as well, because I physically couldn't do things that I used to do. And there's a moment I tried to lift a full kettle and I couldn't. And I just felt so pathetic and enfeebled. And that was a really big moment for me because, it was such a focus. I can't even lift the kettle, But, it does get better with time, and you do learn ways to cope with it and manage your fatigue and energy levels and things like that.
Yeah, tell me how you did that. So apart from resting, what helped you manage your fatigue? And 2 questions in one. Was there a moment for you where there was a bit of a turning point? It actually got a little bit lighter.
Actually, the turning point was the real thing. I mean, I think, again, you sort of go through these things on your own and you sort of don't want to moan and you don't want to complain about things. But I actually ended up speaking to somebody who suffered from fatigue a lot, and she told me that basically calendar management is the key. And I thought, well, okay. And I said, explain that to me a bit more. And she goes, look, just look at your calendar and, if you've got something you want to do on Saturday night, make sure that on Friday afternoon you've got some time to chill, and then on Sunday morning you've got some time to chill, and you'll be fine for that thing on Saturday night. And she told me not to feel bad about saying no, and I kind of developed a little bit of a technique of being able to kind of find an excuse to sort of without.
You had your sentence in your back pocket.
Yeah.
You have to have your boundaries, though,
you
don't you?
You do.
And that calendar technique reminds me of the spoon theory. I don't know if you use that, where if you have 5 spoons every day, and when you're struggling with fatigue or you've just finished cancer treatment, you need to use one of those spoons on just showering or another spoon on actually just getting out of bed. Okay, I've got 3 spoons left. How am I going to use those? Am I going to spend them on tidying the house? No, probably not. Okay, well, what's going to potentially give me a spoon? Is it having a chat with a friend? Because we only have so much energy, don't we? And we're going to have less when we have fatigue. And like you said, okay, well, actually, if I use 4 spoons on a Friday, then maybe I can use 6 on the Saturday when I actually want to go out.
I saw it like the battery charge on your phone where, if you've got, normally when you're operating, even if you're a bit knackered, you've got a couple of bars at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you've got proper fatigue after radiotherapy or something, you actually hit the bottom and there is no more battery. And at that point, your phone switches off, right? And that's what happens to you. You just can't do anything. You just have to sit down, and I've never felt like that before. So if you use your calendar management or your spoon theory, and you kind of make sure that there is, like a bar or some. We're mixing our metaphors here terribly, but if you make sure that there is a bar or two, just a little bit in the tank so that you can keep going.
Before we wrap up, Jonathan, I just love to end on a very quick fire round.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing that no one tells you about life after cancer treatment?
Nobody tells you about the positives. So one of the big positives I've found is that it gives you this completely unique chance to reset everything and to have a huge perspective change on your life, rearrange your priorities and go, actually, I don't like that about my life before cancer. So, now I've been through this, why on earth should I, carry on with that? That's something that nobody ever talks about.
What's helped you the most after treatment?
Well, I think that would go back to what I was saying before about talking to people and having that connection with somebody who understands my experiences and who I'm able to joke with, gallows humour, all of that, make some good jokes and kind of moan and without feeling like you're burdening the other person and knowing that they know how you feel deep down.
What do you wish someone had told you to expect?
The sheer length of time it takes for you to recover from these things. I wish somebody had told me perhaps a bit earlier to keep a journal, because that was another thing that helped me, with my identity and my recovery and my fatigue, actually. The process of writing is not necessarily for everybody. I am a writer by profession, so I think I probably defaulted to it, naturally. I think the process of writing does something very interesting to you because we all, accept inputs from our eyes and we hear things and we experience the world around us and what have you. And we take that all into ourselves. And I think then if you put it out or back out onto a page, it's almost like a kind of a physical processing of your experiences. And I think that was really useful for me, just being able to take all those inputs, convert them into something that then goes onto a page. And I actually look back at my cancer journal quite recently, and I'm like, oh my, I went through that, I did that, that's incredible, and I actually was in some ways quite proud of myself, for what I'd been through and the sort of positivity that I'd been trying to, kind of display in these journal entries. So yeah, I think it's all round, it's a really useful thing to do, and I wish somebody had told me earlier to do it, because I would have started that journaling a lot earlier.
My last question to you. What do you wish doctors knew about life post-treatment?
I was talking to you earlier about how my taste buds and my saliva, got nuked. And they told me, to expect a very slow recovery, if I was lucky, for over a period of about 12 months. And then one professional told me that I wouldn't see much improvement after 12 months. Now,
I remember you saying this.
Yeah. Now, I know that I've spoken to my oncologist recently, and she's actually changed her whole view on this, because she's noticed that a lot of her patients are coming back to her and saying, you know what, I'm 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years out of treatment, and I'm still getting a little bit of taste back every so often, and I'll notice it, and you'll have something that you haven't eaten for a while, and you'll go, oh, hold on, last time I had that, it tasted really bland.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a little bit more research into those sort of things would be really useful. If people knew, if the doctors had more of a view, if there's a way of absorbing all of that information from different people and being able to say to people, well, actually you might still be getting back a little bit of this, even 6 years after your treatment, that would be cool, I think.
Thank you, Jonathan. This has been so helpful and really valuable. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Today we've talked about fatigue, sensory changes, identity, and how much space cancer can take up in day-to-day life. Many of these experiences are more common than we often realise. We've added resources to the show notes, including information on fatigue management and journaling. So if you'd like to explore those further, please do go ahead. And before you go, I'd like to leave you with one question to reflect on this week. What's one thing that gives you energy right now and one thing that takes it away? And is there one small way you could do a little bit more of what gives you energy or a little bit less of what takes it away? Thank you for listening. If you'd like support or community, you can find free online workshops, expert sessions, peer groups, and our 6-week program at life-aftercancer.co.uk. If this episode was helpful, you can follow the podcast or leave a review. It really helps others find these conversations. And support information is always available in the show notes. Take care, and we'll see you next time.